Okay, good evening. This is Ron. Uh, we'll go ahead and get started, see if we have any questions. On yesterday, we continued talking about forgiveness and feeling of worthiness and forgiving others. Is do you forgive others first or do you forgive yourself first? Those sort of things. Uh, Being stuck if there's unforgiveness, if you know, can't find it in you to forgive yourself or to forgive the other person for that matter. So there is no type of growth. You're just kind of stuck out there in that kind of situation. Uh, let's see, you talked about imposter syndrome, that unworthiness that we get, uh, kind of comparing ourselves to others. I think is what I wrote down. If I'm wrong about that, she can explain it. I was writing kind of fast. Uh, you can't live in the now if you stuck with unforgiveness. We talked about that. Pastor said something I thought was I can't remember if he expounded on at all, but he talked about uh you cannot seriously and
Absolutely, man. And so, we'll try to, like you say, focus more on that because we know that they want to play full court, but we ain't
you with us, George? Okay. Um he was talking about not finding your worth in the material world. And I guess I didn't really hear that when he said it, but going back and I did not get to listen to all the tape, and I don't know if he expounded on that or not. But I thought that was an interesting statement because as we look at wealth and popular people, whether they be athletes or uh, someone in the entertainment business or something like that, those are, or maybe someone in some tech company that have become billionaires. Those are the people who we hold in high esteem and kind of look at them as being something special as opposed to, us, because it seems or it appears that they did something that we were not able or haven't been able to accomplish. But I thought that was interesting. The path that we're on and what we do is extremely important, but we have not sought to be popular with this or uh, to gain any type of financial gain from it. So, or anything else for that matter. So that is all in your pursuit and what you deem is important in life. But certainly, I just thought it was worth pausing and looking at for a minute because that is something that we've been taught to do in this society. Any thoughts or questions about that before we move to something else?
This is Vermel. I have a thought about what you were just saying. We also judge ourselves on our worth where we work at work. Um, I work at a care facility, and there are some individuals who'll come in and say, I don't even know why I'm here. It, I'm not doing anything worthwhile. And I think sometimes we forget it takes everybody doing their role to make
Yeah,
a company run. But I think sometimes we don't think what we think of as the lowly job, many of us don't see it as having value and worth. That's just my comment.
that's a good point. And I couldn't agree more with that. We put a lot of status on what we do and the positions that we have, especially when it's one with a title behind it. So, and I hope as we on our collective and individual journeys, all those things are evaluated in us that's part of the growth, hopefully. But good point. Anyone else? Any questions about something else that may have gotten your attention? Okay.
Ron, this is
Yes, ma'am.
Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn.
Hey, this week, not this week, but last week and today, I was telling one of my coworkers, it feels as if we are in Egypt making bricks without straw now. It's like Pharaoh, the system wants more work out of us, but they don't want to lighten up on us. And what I mean by that is they don't want to give us any more money. They're holding on to what they have, the big pocket people. And it just feels like I'm in a cramped, well, the coworkers who I talk to, it's like we're in a cramped space. And we're giving all we got, the majority of us, but it's like we're in Egypt.
Yeah.
Am I the only one feeling that way, or are we the only one feeling that way?
No, I don't think so. This is a year to me that you just kind of hold on to your hat, you know? There's a lot going on. There's a lot that's going to go on. Other things are going to happen. And as we have talked about before, a lot of stuff is being revealed, including racism and greed and selfishness so we're seeing a lot of stuff now, Evelyn, and from companies and individuals, and so just hold on, just remember who you are, and that's why we kind of discuss these things week after week, so that we can bring up anything and offer support to each other. That's going to be important, I think, for the second half of this year, is offering that
Well,
type of
that's
support.
Well, that's what keeps me going, knowing who I am and knowing whose I am. And that's why I felt it so strongly on yesterday, because I help keep the majority of those people on my board. I keep them positive. I have to stay positive before them and with them, because if I look as if I've lost hope, if I don't have any positivity coming to work, I know it's not in vain, like Vermeil was saying. I don't know what would happen. We'd be miserable. We really would, because we got to go to work to take care of ourselves and to pay bills. So yeah.
One of the things that I do in the mornings, I listen back at some of our videos. I don't always, of course, get to hear the whole thing. Listen to our videos. I was listening to one this morning, talking about how to change your diet, how to meditate more, to raise your vibrations, those kind of things. I try to do positive things to kind of help me get in and stay in the right mindset. So, and these conversations like this, I love what we do, and mainly because we can talk about anything. We can bring up anything and discuss it. And I hear what you're saying. I too have you feel a little anxiety sometimes. You feel like and you're absolutely right. The employers are the employers. They're not their role, I think, to care so much. So we have to get that from each other. But anybody else, any thoughts on this? Any insight or suggestions you may have? Or what about your experiences?
Yeah, good evening, Ron. Good evening, everyone.
Good
You know,
evening, George.
I deeply, can, relate to, what Vermel, and also what Evelyn has just said in reference to our associations, with our jobs or in our community or just dealing with people. And I think that because we have been not only empowering one another, but our lights are being one where I believe people are looking at how do we handle, life adversities. And I think that because of our teachings, because of coming to that knowing, we're making a difference. And sometimes we may not be able to see it in totality, but I think it starts with you, it starts with the individual. And so continually to build on our foundation, I truly believe that things are manifesting where people are attracted, to us in that way that we give them hope. I mean, if you just, again, look at the news, and I don't normally watch the news a lot, but just based on, what we're hearing in the macro in terms of, Trump and Biden, people are saying you need to meditate, you need to look at ways of self-care. And I think that in all what we are discussing is bringing some revelation to us in terms of how do we live in this world, but not be of it in the sense that we get caught up in the madness. So I know I may not be explaining it totally, Evelyn, to you, but I know that you are making a difference. And by you sharing your spirit, your thoughts, your wisdom, it's empowering all of us. And I think that again, all that has been said between like you and Vermel, I can't totally say it the way I want, but I'm feeling it to know that we are. So I just wanted to share those thoughts, Ron, because I concur with both of how they feel and we all feel. And
Yeah,
I think that we just have to look at I am balanced or looking at the principles that are important to us. I'm done. Thanks for letting me share.
thank you, George. Yeah, I
George, what
think,
you're saying does resonate. It does. Thank you.
yeah,
No, thank you.
that has, these expressions have as much right to be discussed as anything. Because this too goes out in the macro. There are other people that are feeling frustration or anxieties or uncertainty, and somebody has to exhale and you know give everybody a breath of fresh air. And so thank you for the questions and the comments and the honesty. That's how we move forward. Anyone else? I was something really got a hold of me, and I couldn't put this down. And I've read several articles. Pastor mentioned something a while back. We were talking, and he talked about the U.S. Constitution taking a look at how Native Americans governed themselves, and we even talked about that in Africa, because I think it was Theodore Roosevelt that took note of it in Africa and tried to bring it to America, which is true democracy. And so I did some research looking at this, and a lot of this really sort of fascinates me. Uh, the U.S. government, when they were trying to put together the Constitution, it took a look at what the Native Americans were doing. Excuse me, what the indigenous people were doing, and so there were 5 nations, but let's see that I have. Was I smart enough to write that down? The Cherokee and the Swanee and the Blackhawks were one with three of them. I can't remember the others, but this was something. What happened was there were two men. One, his name was Degana Wada, and Deganawida, and he was called the peacemaker. He was known as a prophet. And there was another guy by the name of Hiawatha, and these were men from two different tribes. But Hiawatha, why all the nations were battling and at war with each other, and there really wasn't a reason why except for over territory. And Hiawatha lost his family. His wife and his daughters were killed, and he was mourning. So the peacemaker, which is Degana Nawada, came to him, and if I'm going to call him the peacemaker to keep from saying that all night, but came to him, and he took him aside, and they mourned together. And when he got through mourning, they said, you know what, we need to do something about this. So they put together what they call the Great Law of Peace. And they decided to go around talking to the other tribes to see how much anybody would get to want to be involved in this. And they got 5 tribes to agree with it. Well, there was this one tribe who was actually the one doing most of the war. And I forget what that chief's name. I wrote him down too, but I got notes all over the place because I take notes while I'm at work on those pieces of paper when when something strikes me and I look it up. But he was the one that was really warring with everybody, and they actually went to him. And this was the guy who had killed Hiawatha's family, his wife and daughters. But they talked him into peace and being a part of this confederacy, which I thought was amazing. But the part of this, and this dates back, this a couple of things that got my attention. This dates back to the year 1142. 1142. Can you imagine that? A democracy in place that long ago, and in the Americas, that is. And when they were trying to decide how to do this or when to do it, what they did was they took their cue from an eclipse that happened in August of that year, 1142. A total solar eclipse occurred, and they took that as a sign. And I tried hard to find, why was that a sign to them? What was important about that eclipse that got their attention and got this going? But the nations that started that still follow this confederacy, or this great law of peace, this law that they put together. They still follow it to this day. The tribe members that are still, living and live in this regard, and have not gone mainstream and doing other things like the Europeans have kind of forced everybody to do. But the part of this that I thought was interesting is the role of the women. And that's the part I wanted to talk about a little bit. When they put this together and got all the tribes to do it, what they did was each tribe was called a clan. So each clan had its own rights. So you had your own chiefs and council, but it was everything was run mainly by, there was a united council that was over everything, but you still had to kind of govern yourselves a little bit. And I'll explain that a little bit more. But every man, woman, and even child had their own property. Everybody had property. And they lived in something, all of them, each tribe, and this was part of what they came up with. Each tribe lived in something, not tribe, each family in the clan lived in something called a longhouse. And these were actually long houses made out of wood and straw. And they could be, it was mainly 20 feet wide, but it could be anywhere from 100 feet to 400 feet, just depending on how much, what they needed. But in that house lived not only your grandparents, your brothers and your sisters and their families, cousins. I mean, if you were a family that had 5 kids and then each one of those kids got married and had their own kids, all of you would live in this clan. All of you would live in that. You would, the building of the houses were the men's responsibility. But when they put this together, they said, each one of you guys, each tribe, if you will, look at how many clans you have and put together a council of men. These were the chiefs. But guess who chose the chiefs? The chiefs were chosen by a council of women. So you had a council of women who ran everything, and they were known as, the women, especially the older women, were considered very sacred, and they were one with the earth. So the responsibility of that clan mother, the women did all the planting, or at least told you what and where to plant. The women are the ones that made sure that everybody had enough to eat. And it was the clan mothers who also decided how much you got, how much each clan got. So that everything was grown together. So even if I'm a part of this tribe and your clan is a part of another tribe, we would trade up things. So all of that was done by the women. A total opposite of what we've been taught. If a man got married, he did not build a new hut. He went to his wife's family's clan, her long house. So she didn't come to his house, he went to her house. But he was still responsible for being the man. In other words, it was the man's responsibility to take care of his mother. So even though he's married and he's living in with another clan, he still is responsible for taking care of his mother. And he also had another responsibility of helping, if he had a sister, he was to be the man and help his sister raise her children, which I thought was very interesting. So any questions so far before I go on? Okay. So as that, let me see where I am with my notes here. So the other thing, something I thought was interesting, is they had something called, there was a different name for it, but it translated into a Thanksgiving address. So every day, everybody in your clan had to give a Thanksgiving address. They showed a lot of gratitude. You thank the earth, you thank the nature, you thank your clan, you thank the clan mother. You thanked everybody. You were a part of something, and you paid homage to it, not just on a weekly day, but on a daily basis. I thought that was so you had to acknowledge all and everything around you, from the water to the air to the sky. Everything had to you had to pay homage to it. A chief could be, you could be made a chief or you could be removed from being a chief, depending on the clan mothers. The clan mothers had had the authority to remove you from being chief. So her responsibility was the clan. If you had a problem, you came to her. If anything that bothered you, any suggestion you had, you came to her. So you say, well, what did the chief do? The chief was her voice. They worked together. He was her voice, and he was supposed to follow that guidance. So if there was a dispute within the family, that came to her, came to one of the clan mothers, and the authority, it was, they looked at who had the most wisdom, and something else with nature, being one with the earth, but they also paid homage to the older women in the clan. So all the spiritual, you had annual spiritual ceremony, but if there was something else that a clan mother or thought was necessary, she planned all spiritual ceremonies. So everybody listened to the clan mother usually did things in groups, because it could be as many as 50 of them for a tribe. But usually you had a council of 3 to 5 that really sort of ran things, that made those type of decisions. So if women were regarded so much with high esteem in this thing, that it was said that a woman could get up out of bed or whatever and go for a walk, go anywhere she wanted at any time, day or night, without worrying about her safety or anything happening to her, because that's how much they were revered. The women decided divorces. So if the guy wasn't acting right, he was and living with his family, they could put him out at any time. And when they put him out, the only possession he took was his bed. Unless the family just wanted, there was something they wanted to give him, he didn't, so I thought, again, that was kind of interesting. What else? The chiefs were males. They were responsible for they were selected by the women. They handled any type of distribution according to the women, whatever was going to the clans or to each tribe. The chiefs did that. All the communications were done through the chief. The chief, she was really the backbone of it, and the chief was her voice. The chief was her voice. Her main responsibility as the clan mother, you were responsible for peace, balance, and harmony. The clan mothers were responsible for peace, balance, and harmony. And the chief, or there was another name for him besides chief, but he was there, he was the voice. The one thing I thought was interesting in that, that he could be replaced if he did not show justice, if he did not show, equality. The women had everything that the men had. The women would even decide if there was a battle and go into battle, she would decide who would go into battle. It was up to the clan mothers to make that decision. So if you look at, I thought that was a great analogy to kind of look at us individually and collectively. There is that feminine energy that's in each one of us, that is balance, that is peace, that is harmony. And the masculinity is the voice for it. And when the masculinity steps out of line and doesn't do it right, there is a new voice. There comes a new voice that is done away with. And let me give you an example of that. because this kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I am probably, I've gotten better at it over the years, but I can be very boisterous. I can be like things done a certain way, I guess, and take care of things in that manner. But I've gotten to the point now where I recognize that there isn't a lot of wisdom in that. And it has changed me or still is changing, the process of changing me. So I have over the years, at least I hope I have, learned to change my voice. It is the feminine energy in me, the harmony, the desire for balance, the desire to be loved, and to recognize that, as Evelyn talked about the other day, that makes me be honest with myself and look at that. So the changing of voices, we do it, or at least have opportunity to do it, to me, if it is something that is needed. So I saw that, I kind of see this, and I love the way, the respect that they gave the women. They recognized that the women were spiritual and had a lot of wisdom. And it was evident in how that was done. Now, the US Constitution took it, and who pushed it with the Constitution of following them was Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. But of course, they took it and kind of switched it around a little bit. Well, a lot of bit, not a little bit. Like, for example, Ben Franklin had regular meetings with them to understand their counsel and how things worked. But when the Constitution was originally done in the Americas, if a woman was married, she was like property. If you married somebody, you lost your personal property. And as long as he didn't kill you, a man could beat you for disobedience. What else? It was one big one. Oh, this was the one that really got me. If a man was dying and he knew he didn't have long to live and his wife was pregnant, he could tell who got the baby. The children belonged to the men. So if his wife was pregnant and he wanted somebody else to have the baby, he had a right to do so. So they borrowed from it, but they took the femininity out of it completely. And that's really what happened with the scriptures. But I just the contrast of that to me is totally amazing. But any questions about that? Any questions about any of this? I just found it fascinating, because I look at the clan mothers as being that femininity that we have been trying to observe in ourselves, and the voice being the masculinity, the voice being the one that builds the hut and takes care of the physical things, but he's totally in line with his feminine side, and falls right in line with it as far as being a part of his duty. I just found it fascinating. What do you guys think?
Ron, this is Ramel. That's very interesting. Is that tribe or collection of individuals, are they still in existence today?
Yes.
Correct?
Well, a lot of them have gone mainstream. They become, part of America. But there are some of them that still live this way. Yes.
Interesting. Wow.
So, and I got this from several articles, but there's a book out there for anybody who's interested. It's called Sisters in Spirit. And I might get a copy of that. This kind of fascinated me.
So Ron, I have a question if nobody else does. So is that why
Okay.
men back then could beat their wives or beat their wives and nothing was done? Because it seemed to me like when we were little, a lot of men beat their wives and nothing was said in the community that I
Well,
lived in.
let's pull all this together though, Evelyn. We've looked up to the European for a long time, and that was by force. It looked as though that he was enlightenment, and everything he did from the jobs and over us and making more money and driving the better cars and living in the better neighborhood, it made us aspire to be that. So if your wife, making your wife submissive was part of it, that's what it looked like to us we were supposed to do, be a part of that. The other thing was the way we were treated, put the sexes against each other. Put the wives and the husbands against each other. Don't forget the times when they come and take a wife or a daughter and go and sleep with her, and there was nothing you could do. So that too had a lot to do with the animosity between the genders within the African race. But yeah, actually, I don't think a lot has changed. I was looking at something on television probably about a year or so ago, and they just recently took a law off the book in Brazil that says if a man thought his wife was cheating or he caught her looking at another man, he not only could beat her, if he could justify it, if he could take her life. But he had to have proof. And the proof was he had to have another man to notice or be witness to what she did. That's been here in the 21st century. So a lot of this stuff is, you'd be shocked to know that it's still practiced.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
I think one of the things to me that intrigued me about this is where we are right now. We talk about being that conduit in the earth, but we are beginning. We're not at beginning, we're beginning. And as we uncover things and you see all the chaotic stuff going on in the world, we not only uncover the chaos, we uncover the truth as well. So this practice goes back a very long time. It's not the Cushite that I'm looking at, but it made me wonder if they didn't borrow some of this from the Cushites. Where did they get this from? Because we do know that there was a true democracy in Africa as well. So I look at this as beginning and to be encouragement to show us that we are on the right track in what we believe and what we see. And when we talk about the importance and the necessity of femininity and understanding that. And there's nothing submissive about it as I guess some people will have us believe or want us to believe. This is very necessary to be spiritual.
And this stems from religion, right? People who are, yeah.
Hmm? The
I said this
indigenous
stems
people,
from,
yeah.
well, yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this one of those ways where, remember the thing in Romans where it says, I forget what it says exactly, but it's talking about how what people's actions in whatever they're doing, makes the word null and void. Do you remember that scripture?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
is this one of those things where if you, like the church tends to cut off feminine energy, like in its tracks. Is
yeah.
this one of those things that helps that people's spiritual growth and the power of the word become null and void?
I think it does exactly, Audrey, and I think it goes into what we were talking about yesterday, all the things that the unforgiveness and everything that cuts off your spiritual growth. This definitely cuts off the spiritual growth. I think too, this sounds a little well, no, I don't care. I think everything has been halted for such a time as this. I think spirituality is so important and so powerful that in the wrong hands, people will do evil things with it. And it has not been understood for a purpose. And we are the ones to unravel this. I believe that with all my heart. You know, we were talking yesterday about the unworthiness thing. I think we've all had a part of that. At least I have. I have thought about, you know, what are you doing with your life? Look at you now. And we've had these conversations before, but I don't feel like that anymore. I don't think there's anything more in the earth that I could do that's worthwhile that we can do. And so, yeah, I think the church is in the state that it is of because the universe has been waiting on us. So I hope that doesn't sound arrogant to anybody, because I'm talking to everybody on the phone when I say us. All of us that gather and try to have a desire to understand this. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Or to bring some balance back to it.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
I thought it talked yesterday. I thought there was a very interesting, in a good way, conversation, a meeting we had yesterday with West Hope, and talking about community. And even when Pam, any guys, West Hope is the church out of California that we meet with at the top of the month every month. And one of the members had asked last month if we could talk about community. And I thought that was interesting because I always think of community as something very spiritual. And I even really look at how and where I grew up and how special that was, although I probably didn't appreciate it as much at the time. But I thought we had a very interesting and good conversation on yesterday talking about community. And I think everything we do talk about the community that we are. We talk about, you know, this, they believe that unless there was gender balance, unless you held women at a equal standings as men, then you had no democracy. You did not have balance. And that's funny that people thought this in the year 1142. You know, so that shows you the spirituality, and this thing is alive and well in us even today. So, anybody else in thoughts?
We didn't say in so many words yesterday, but and now that we're talking about this today, community is held together by feminine energy. And
Yeah.
without it, there is none. Not really.
You're absolutely right.
The shadows of it, or the husk of it, but not really the substance of it. Anyway, I don't think we said that in so many words yesterday.
No, we didn't. But maybe that'll be a good lead off next time we get together. But to me, community just means a small nation, a place where people have something in common, people have if not a love, a fondness and an appreciation and a friendship and a camaraderie, excuse me, together. And you're all in this thing, in the same boat. Your children have special relationships, and although you may work in different places, you all really have the same type of status in life, you know. At least see yourself that way. But there's something real special about a real neighborhood, and you don't see them as often anymore. A community, not neighborhood, I'm sorry.
Ron,
excuse me.
remember, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, keep talking. I just gotta.
Well, this is Evelyn again. Remember James Brown made the song, "This is a Man's World, but it's nothing with a woman or a girl"? That still speaks. And I believe that was spoken from the beginning. Even though he didn't treat his women right, from what I understand, he beat all them. But anyway, that's just hearsay. But yeah, it's a man's world, but it's nothing without us. The feminine energy, I'll say.
Yeah, no balance.
I'm done. What'd you say, Audrey?
Interesting you should say that, Evelyn, because he sang that song with so much passion and made you believe it, but yet his own actions were really different. Interesting.
People like that, they call street angel and home devil. Yeah, street angel and home devil. He was out there, just you thought he was an angel out there in the street. When he get home, he was the most ruthless person. I'm not saying him, but a lot of people. They come home and just so ruthless to their family. So yeah, street angel, home devil. Thank you.
Wow.
I never heard that term, but I like it. But one of the things that was said in this was the men were the voice. The men were the voice of the clan mothers. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. Everybody understood their role. And the thing that when what our humanity, if we're not balanced, try to look at is that means that the men were submissive. It does not. It does not at all. In fact, you're just as important. There's equality there because it doesn't work without one or the other. It doesn't work without the feminine energy, and it certainly doesn't work without the masculinity. So I just thought it was a beautiful story, and I think it points to us, and I hope offers a little encouragement as to the journey that we're on and what we're seeing before us. Because masculinity has totally gone awry. It's just out of control. Totally out of control. And here's the other reason. I almost forgot this. Here's the other reason why I brought this up. They took this. They took truth. They saw something that was beautiful, and they twisted it and made it into something totally selfish. It's time to shed light on that. Because it's hard, you know, we're looking at making changes in the world. This is going back to the beginning of this country, which I think is important. And as I was saying, we are beginning, y'all. We are beginning. So I hope this helps or makes sense. And I thought it was something worth talking about. Any questions? Okay,
I have lots,
Well-
but I don't know,
huh? Go ahead.
always starting something, but anyway. Um, so what does this say about the church or religion? I mean, it works very hard to stamp out the female voice
Mhm.
in terms of policy and doctrine and all of that stuff. So what does that say about it? And what does that say about the church community?
Well, I think, and I hope someone else helps answer this. I think your question sort of sums up everything we talked about in the last couple of weeks. Because the first thing that came to mind was intent. If you can look at what these people did and take femininity out of it, and even how you run the church, that's intentional. So the other thing that popped in my head when you were talking was forgiveness. Forgiveness. What is taking place has been very hurtful and hurt the earth, but they don't know what they're doing. Selfishness doesn't know what it's doing. And here we are talking about forgiveness, talking about what is intentional, looking at greed and looking at power struggle, and looking at keeping people in poverty. Out of everything that's going on in the world, I don't know if somebody sent me a video the other day on from Instagram, and what the video showed was in Poland, they are recruiting Black men from Africa because the population is declining so bad. I just I thought that was interesting. I sent it to Pastor. I just thought that was interesting. So the point I'm making is we're staying the course, and at least I have recognized that I don't see how this is going to end. With my little mind, it seems like every time I try to see an ending in anything, it doesn't happen that way. So I look at this thing that's happening in Poland, and I'm saying, who saw that coming? You know, who saw something like that taking place? So you're right. The church has done what is done intentionally. It is totally off course. It is totally out of bounds, and somebody has to bring balance to it, and it will be us. But that same intent, Audrey, was really etched in our Constitution.
Mhm.
I hope that kind of answered you.
Ron, this is Evelyn again. I think what you were talking about previously about how they trying to pay people, the African men, to come and impregnate or marry their daughters. That's also, I think, I read an article, they were talking about that in China as well. And apparently it's spiritual. It has something to do with melanin. So yeah,
I read about it in Japan. I think China was actually having a population problem, but I think Japan may be the one you're talking about.
Okay,
But
yeah.
because I thought I saw that too. I thought I read that too when I saw the other article. Yeah,
It's spiritual.
Yeah, this is amazing what's taking place on the globe.
Well, I'll tell you a story about the fact that Polish people, this is not their first dealings with Africans
Okay.
in terms of that kind of thing. because when during the Haitian Revolution back in 18, well, the late 1700s and into the 1800s, Napoleon sent some Polish mercenaries to Haiti to help fight the war against the Haitians. Well, Napoleon had a lot of stuff going on. He was fighting wars on different fronts. So he sort of left the Polish mercenaries there without any supplies or whatever. So they kind of were on their own. Well, in the end, they turned against Napoleon and then they joined with the Haitians to fight against the French. And a lot of them ended up staying in Haiti and marrying with people among the local population. So you will find a lot of
Wow.
Haitians have Polish names. So I just say that to say it's like coming full circle
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Poland
Wow.
now requesting some Africans to come and help them.
Wow.
So anyway,
Interesting.
fun fact story.
Thank you. The only other thing I wish I had gotten, and I want to research this some more. I want to know, was the Thanksgiving address that you had to do daily, was it something like the 42 laws or 42 principles? Was it something that was everybody knew, all the tribe knew, or were you free to give your own kind of rendition of each clan kind of did their own thing? I really like to know that. So if I can find that, I certainly would talk about it again. But I won't keep you if nobody has any questions, but thank you. I appreciate you listening. And you are a beautiful and wonderful group of people. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your meditations and keep your spirits up. And if we have to call each other, let's call each other. Okay? But what you're doing is appreciated and worthwhile. But thank you. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you for saying that, Ron. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.